Okay, so I am going to start out with degrees. Okay, I'm going to put on here degrees and radians. And then I will end up putting some other values on here too. We'll probably just go ahead and do all of this today. The other values you won't need till a later section, but it's good to go ahead and just have them so that way you can start memorizing it if you're so ambitious. So obviously I said we were starting over here, so that's going to be 0 degrees. Then these lines are going to be 30, 45, and 60, and we're going to be counting in those increments basically all the way around. So it's going to be 30 degrees, 45 degrees, 60 degrees, and then 90 degrees straight up and down.
What's the one right before 90?
60. I'm going to zoom it in right now while we're doing that. So then we go 30 past that. So that is going to be 120 degrees. Then 15 past that, okay, because that's the break between 30 and 45. So 15 past that is, 135. Then 150. And then down here is 180. So if you remember from geometry, top part is 180 degrees. So then keep going, it's 30 degrees again, so that's 210 degrees. Then add 15 degrees, so that is 225 degrees. Then another 15, so 240 degrees. Add 30, so 270 degrees. Add 30 again is 300 degrees. Add 15, it's 315 degrees. Then 330 degrees. And then underneath is 360 degrees, okay? So it starts at 0. Once it's gone all the way around, it's at 360. If it gets really out of focus, just let me know, because I think some of it is with the bulb going out, because it doesn't normally look like that when I do this. All right, any questions about the degrees? Basically, if you know what the gaps between this stuff is, you can just count it all the way around. So the degrees should pretty much be the easiest thing on the entire unit circle. So then next I'm going to do the radians. I'm going to go out and do them a little bit farther out. It doesn't really matter. I just like to have them separated. I'm going to actually try to use a darker green so that it shows up a little better. So I'm going to show a couple different things before I just put the values on here. I'm going to do these all as the same color, but I'm going to show you how to count it in case you get stuck on a quiz and don't remember. But we have 0 radians again to start with. Okay, and the way we decide what it's being like divided by to break it up is how many of those occur on the circle itself. So I'm going to start out with the easiest one, which are the pi over 2's, because over here, no matter what, it's always going to be pi. And then when you get back around, it's always going to be increments of 2 pi. So this is 0 to pi, so then these are based on how many sections it's broken up into, okay? So I have 0, so then halfway between would be pi over 2. So it's 0, pi over 2, 2 pi over 2, which reduces to pi, okay? Then I go around again. So down here is going to be 3 pi over 2. Then I go a little bit farther around and I have 4 pi over 2, which reduces to 2 pi. So those are all the pi over 2's. Okay. Now the next easiest one is to then split that in half and do the pi over 4's. Okay, the pi over 4's are going to occur on the 45-degree marks. So we start out at 0. At 45 degrees, that's halfway between the pi over 2 and 0, so that's going to be pi over 4. So that's 1 pi over 4. Straight up and down is still included because that's another 45 degrees, so it's increments of 45. So that's 2 pi over 4, which reduces to pi over 2. Okay. Go another 45 degrees, so that's over here. It's going to be 3 pi over 4. Then go another 45 degrees. That's going to be 4 pi over 4, which reduces to pi. Go another 45 degrees. It's going to be 5 pi over 4. Then another 45 degrees is going to be 3 pi over 2. Okay, because it's going to be 6 pi over 4, I should say that. 6 pi over 4, so that's 3 pi over 2. Another 45 degrees is going to be 7 pi over 4. And then when we've gone around one full time, we're at 8 pi over 4, which reduces to 2 pi. So the next ones are going to 30 and 60 have different denominators, but it's all because of how it's reduced. So we're still going to count in increments of 30 for these ones. So we were doing 45, so now we're going to break it into 30. So that means that how many sets of 30 are in 180? 6. So these ones are going to be in increments of pi over 6, but some of them will be reduced down to a pi over 3. Okay, so the 60-degree ones will be pi over 3s, 30 degrees will be pi over 6. Okay, so we start at 0. We get to 30 degrees, that's going to be pi over 6. We add another 30, that's going to be 2 pi over 6, which is going to reduce to pi over 3. So your quadrant 1 is the most basic. Okay, so that gives you the basis for all the rest of them going forward. So then that was, what was it, 2 pi over 6. So then 3 pi over 6 is at 90 degrees, which reduces to pi over 2. Okay, go another 30. That would be 4 pi over 6, okay, which is going to reduce to 2 pi over 3. Go another 30, that's 5 pi over 6. And then we go another 30, that brings us to 6 pi over 6, which reduces to pi. Go another 30, 7 pi over 6. Then we go another 30, it's going to be 8 pi over 6, which is going to reduce to 4 pi over 3. Another 30 would be 9 pi over 6, which is going to reduce to 3 pi over 2. Another 30 would be 10 pi over 6, which is going to reduce to 5 pi over 3. And then another 30 is going to be 11 pi over 6. And then all the way around is 12 pi over 6, which reduces to 2 pi. And I know it's a little overwhelming the first time you see it. It won't be the only time you see it. This will become your best friend for the next month and a half. So whoever your best friend is normally, tell them they've been replaced with the unit circle. Okay. This literally is like, if you have this when you're doing trig, you'll be fine. Like, everything basically that we're going to do comes from right here. Or your calculator. Basically the two options. Now, it's called the unit circle because the distance from here to here is 1. Okay? All the way around. It's the most basic form of it. And so what I would do is imagine this like a coordinate plane. So extend out as if it's on a coordinate plane. So we've got our x-axis here. And our y-axis here. So this point here, right on the axis, or like right there, okay, is the point 1, 0. Oh, sorry, that is not readable. Brief pause. Don't do that. Okay. Scratch that. I need a darker color. 1, 0. Is that readable? There. So that's 1, 0. Up here is going to be 0, 1. Over here is negative 1, 0. And then down here is 0, negative 1. So basically that's what those values are equal to. If I told you to take the cosine of 0 degrees, it would be equal to 1. Okay, I'm going to make that note up here really quick. Cosine are x values, sine are y values. And that, again, that'll come in more later. That won't actually be in this section that we're in the process of working on. But it will come up later. And so as I explain the unit circle, I like to just go ahead and teach it all at once. I'll explain it, but just know that that part doesn't need to make sense right now. It's the stuff that we've already filled in is what needs to make sense right now, basically. So... what color do I want to use? I'm going to use pink. Alright, so I'm going to use pink for my pi over 4s. Okay, I'm going to do those first. So, you won't need your calculator. I'm just getting it out to show you something. So we're looking for our x and y values, okay, for you to know that they're not just being pulled out of my head, okay. Well, they kind of are, but they actually, there's a reason for them, okay. They are going to be less than 1. All the values are going to be less than 1 because the farthest out that they can be is 1, okay. So my x value here is, and you don't necessarily need to draw this on here because it's going to get chaotic, and I'm only going to draw them on this one quadrant, and then I'm going to show you something else. So we're looking at where are they intersecting the two planes, or the two axis spots, to give us our x and y values, okay? So the value for pi over 4 is the square root of 2 divided by 2, which is 0.707. So that's a little beyond half, and so that's where we're getting that from. Okay, so it's actually, the pi over 4s are the easiest ones because they're both the square root of 2 over 2. There are 3 values for the x and y coordinates that if you know them, you're good. You just have to know where they occur. Okay? Now, what do you know about these signs, okay, the S-I-G-N-S, of quadrant 1, about x and y?
They're all positive.
Okay, they're both positive. So I'm going to actually make a note of that here. Oh, I can't see that either. I'm just going to show you here. Okay, they're both positive. And one more thing is going to be written right here. They're both positive, okay? What about over here in this quadrant?
X is negative, y is positive.
X is negative, y is positive. What about down here?
X is positive, y is negative.
This side?
Oh.
Negative,
Okay.
both.
Both are negative. Okay, so negative, negative. Then over here, what is it?
X is positive, y is negative.
Yep. Positive, negative. Okay? If you know that, then up here, every single value you have is positive. Okay? Over here, every x value is negative, every y value is positive. Okay? So, all we have to do then, these are always the numbers for pi over 4. So watch how easy this is. We come over here to this pi over 4, and we write minus the square root of 2 over 2 and the square root of 2 over 2. So then at my next one, I am told that it's the same numbers, but I know that they're both negative. So at 5 pi over 4, it's minus the square root of 2 over 2 and minus the square root of 2 over 2. So then at 7 pi over 4, x is positive, y is negative, so it'll be square root of 2 over 2 and minus the square root of 2 over 2. So if you memorize what the numbers are for the x and y values, all you have to know are the signs, and you get it for every quadrant.
I cannot see.
Can I have your contacts in?
I slept with them on last night, and then my mom's like, you can't wear them today.
Did you ground you from contacts?
Pretty much.
Lucky me, I don't have contacts.
A long night.
All right, I'm going to do pi over 6 next. So, again, I'm just going to show it what's happening here. Oh, that's not it. And I'm going to erase these lines when I'm done because what's happening? Okay, I don't know. But regardless, you get the point. I don't know why it's doing that. So, if I drop this line straight down, okay, it's farther than this one. Okay, so I'm expecting it to be bigger than the square root of 2 over 2. Okay, and that value is actually going to be the square root of 3 over 2, which comes out to be 0.866. Okay, so it's a little bigger. So my x value is going to be the square root of 3 over 2. Now, where about does it look like this one is crossing?
Square root of 1 over 2.
That would,
I know, it's 1/2.
Okay, yes, 1/2. So that one's going to be square root of 3 over 2 and 1/2. So all of my pi over 6s, okay, not the pi over 3s, all of the pi over 6s, so the ones that actually visibly have a 6 on the bottom, are going to have those same numbers, just adjusting the signs. So 5 pi over 6 is going to be negative positive, so it'll be negative square root of 3 over 2. And 1/2. At 7 pi over 6, they're both negative, so it's negative square root of 3 over 2, negative 1/2. At 11 pi over 6, it's positive negative, so it'll be square root of 3 over 2, negative 1/2. Gonna use orange. Let's use a dark orange. Alright, so now I'm going to do the pi over 3s. So I'm going to, again, drop this down. Bring this over. So what does the x-coordinate kind of look like here? Just a guess.
The vertical
1/2.
test.
A half, okay? So the x-coordinate is going to be 1/2. Now, any guesses about this one?
Square root of 3 over 2.
Square root of 3 over 2. So if you remember what your pi over 6s are, you just swap the x and y coordinate for your pi over 6s. Okay? So 1/2 square root of 3 over 2 all the way around. Okay, we just change the signs. So at 2 pi over 3, it's negative 1/2 root 3 over 2. At 4 pi over 3, they're both negative, so negative 1/2, negative root 3 over 2. At 5 pi over 3, it's 1/2 and negative root 3 over 2. So all those values are filled in. Now, there's one final thing that has not been filled in yet, and they are going to be tangent values. Okay? I'm not going to really explain where they come from right now. I'm just going to tell you this is what they are. When we get there, I will explain how to find them. Okay? But, again, it's coming in a later section, but tangent is y divided by x. So you're taking your y coordinate divided by your x coordinate, and whatever that value is your tangent. Okay? So I'm just going to go around. So at pi over 6, or the increments of pi over 6, it is the square root of 3 over 3. Okay, so then at 5 pi over 6, it's, again, y divided by x. So if one of the values is negative and one is positive, my tangent value is going to be negative. So it's going to be negative root 3 over 3. 7 pi over 6, both are negative, so negative divided by negative is positive, so it's just going to be root 3 over 3. And at 11 pi over 6, I have one positive, one negative, so it's going to be negative, so negative root 3 over 3. So now, hands down, the easiest ones are the pi over 4s, because when you divide them, you multiply by the reciprocal, everything cancels nicely, so it's 1. So at pi over 4, it's 1. At 3 pi over 4, it's going to be negative, so it's going to be negative 1. At 5 pi over 4, both are negative, so it's going to be positive, so it's going to be 1. And at 7 pi over 4, it's going to be negative. So opposite quadrants have the same sign, okay? So then at pi over 3's, okay, that is going to be just the square root of 3. So then at 2 pi over 3, it's going to be minus the square root of 3. At 4 pi over 3, it's going to be the square root of 3. And at 5 pi over 3, minus the square root of 3. So then I will give you the tangent values on the actual axis as well, because sometimes those come up. So it's y divided by x is what gives it to us, okay? So for this one over here, the y value is 0, okay, divided by 1. 0 divided by 1 is 0. So my tangent value is 0. And that's going to be the case over here as well. But 1 divided by 0 is what? Undefined. So I have an undefined tangent value on the y-axis. And that is all the lovely stuff that you have to memorize. Okay. I would start out with your degrees and radians because that's where we're at right now, okay, as you're going through and you're learning it. Then I would move into learning the other stuff as we get there, okay? We'll go back through the other stuff again. I'll pull it back out. We'll talk through it a little bit more. I'm not going to leave those lines on here, so I'm going to erase them. But I'm going to turn this off, and I'm going to show you a trick with your hand for how to memorize this, and then we'll be done for today.